On the night of February 2nd, 1959, 9 seasoned hikers were suddenly overtaken by something inexplicably terrifying in the frigid Ural Mountains of Russia. What should have been a routine winter expedition ended in horror, with the group fleeing from their tent in the dead of night, barely clothed and ill-prepared for the punishing cold. Their bodies, scattered around the slope, bore bizarre and sometimes brutal injuries, along with inexplicable clues that would baffle investigators for decades. What happened on that isolated snowy mountain remains one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries of the 20th century, an enigma now known as the Dyatlov Pass Incident. On January 23, 1959, 10 experienced cross-country skiers, most of them students from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, embarked on what was planned as a 21-day journey through the Ural Mountains. Led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, the group traveled by train from Sverdlovsk, now Yekaterinburg, to Ivdel, then on to the remote town of Vizhai by bus. They were in high spirits, carrying all the food and supplies they'd need to navigate the harsh Russian winter. From Vizhai, they trekked to a logging camp and then a deserted mining outpost known as North 2, marking the start of their ski expedition. It was here that one member, Yuri Yudin, decided to turn back due to health issues. Little did he know that this choice would save his life. The rest of the group continued onward, excited to reach Kolatsyakal, the Mountain of the Dead. After setting up their first camp along the Lozva River, the group laughed and sang around a small mandolin someone had packed, soaking in the moment before they began the arduous climb. By January 31st, they reached the Auspia River, but their progress was hindered by heavy packs. The next day, they stashed some supplies in a cache to lighten their load, intending to retrieve them on their return journey. The last night, by February 1st, the group had made camp on the northern slope of the mountain, planning to summit in the morning. But sometime in the early hours of February 2nd, something triggered sheer panic. The 9 hikers cut their way out of the tent from the inside, fleeing barefoot into the biting cold. Within hours, each of them would be dead, their bodies scattered around the mountain in disturbing positions. When the group missed a rendezvous on February 12th, their families and friends grew worried, but it wasn't until February 20th that a search party was dispatched. On February 26th, searchers located the abandoned tent, half buried in snow and inexplicably slashed open. The 9 footprints leading from the tent were all either barefoot or in socks, hinting at an inexplicable flight into the snow. The first 2 bodies found were those of Yuri Krivonyshenko and Yuri Doroshenko, huddled together under a cedar tree with burns on their hands from a failed attempt at building a fire. Claw marks on the tree suggested they'd tried to climb it, possibly to evade something or to gain a view of their camp. Dyatlov's body was discovered next, about 300 meters from the tree, followed by Zenaida Kolmogorova and Rustam Slobodin. All showed signs of hypothermia, positioned as if attempting to return to the tent. Nearly 2 months later, on May 5th, the last 4 members were found under 12 feet of snow, deeper into the forest. Lyudmila Dubinina, Alexander Kolovatov, Nikolai Thibaut Brignol, and Semyon Zolotaryov had more severe injuries: crushed skulls, fractured ribs, and internal damage, yet strangely, no external wounds. Dubinina and Zolotaryov's injuries were akin to car accident trauma, raising more questions than answers. Even more unsettling, some of their clothing registered high levels of radioactivity. One proposed explanation is an avalanche, potentially forcing the hikers to flee. But the slope wasn't steep enough for a dangerous avalanche, and photos showed intact gear standing upright in the snow. Investigators dismissed this as a primary cause. Some speculated that a local indigenous group, the Mansi, attacked the hikers, but there was no evidence of an attack or stolen supplies, and the Mansi had no known history of hostility toward visitors. Another theory involves a secret military test, possibly involving a bomb or chemical weapon. Strange lights seen in the sky and the radioactivity found on some clothing lend credence to this, but no conclusive evidence supports it, and experts noted the lack of blast-related debris. Some scientists suggest that katabatic winds, powerful downslope gusts, may have struck the tent with hurricane force. In desperation, the hikers could have cut their way out to escape the violent winds. Another explanation, infrasound, postulates that wind patterns might have caused intense, low-frequency sounds capable of inducing feelings of panic. Such a sound could explain why experienced hikers would run into the night without proper clothing. Some theories suggest the hikers encountered a mysterious creature, like a yeti or cryptid, which led to their demise. Proponents point to photos from the group's cameras that allegedly depict mysterious shapes in the snow or trees. Advocates of this theory believe the hikers may have panicked and fled after a perceived attack. However, there is no concrete evidence to suggest any large creature was present in the area, and the unusual injuries could be attributed to environmental factors or other explanations. A more speculative theory involves paranormal phenomena. Some claim that supernatural forces were at work, causing disorientation, panic, and death. This theory is supported by the eerie condition in which the bodies were found, such as missing eyes and tongues in some of the victims, though these injuries could also be explained by scavenging animals. Strange lights in the sky reported by witnesses in nearby areas are sometimes interpreted as UFOs or other unexplainable occurrences, adding to the mystery. The presence of unusual levels of radiation on some of the hikers' clothing has fueled theories about exposure to radioactive materials. Some propose that the group unknowingly entered an area used for covert military radiation experiments or stumbled upon discarded radioactive waste. While the source of the radiation remains unclear, experts have noted that it was localized and not found uniformly on all the hikers, complicating this explanation. Medical experts often refer to hypothermia to explain the bizarre behavior of the hikers. As the body temperature drops dangerously low, victims can experience confusion, hallucinations, and a phenomenon called paradoxical undressing, where they feel an intense burning sensation and remove their clothing despite freezing temperatures. This could explain why some hikers were found partially clothed. However, this theory doesn't account for all the injuries observed, such as fractures and internal trauma. Although no clear signs of an animal attack were found, some theorize that a predatory animal like a bear or wolf frightened the group, leading to their hasty exit. This theory is weakened by the absence of animal tracks or evidence of a struggle at the site. Still, the fear of an encounter with a large predator may have been enough to trigger the chaos. A less discussed but plausible theory involves accidental poisoning by carbon monoxide or toxic gases from the hiker's portable stove or nearby geological activity. If the stove malfunctioned, it could have released dangerous fumes inside the tent, causing panic. Alternatively, the area's volcanic or tectonic activity might have released toxic gases, leading to disorientation and irrational behavior. However, there's little direct evidence to support this idea, as no such chemicals were detected during the investigation. Some researchers suggest that interpersonal conflicts or psychological breakdowns among the hikers might explain their erratic behavior. Being in an extreme environment can heighten stress and paranoia, possibly leading to arguments or a split in the group. This theory struggles to account for the physical injuries sustained, but it might explain why they left the tent so abruptly and separated into smaller groups. Another theory involves acoustic phenomena, where specific frequencies in the environment might have caused physical or psychological distress. Infrasound, which has been linked to feelings of unease, could have disoriented the group and driven them to flee the tent. Alternatively, a natural sound anomaly or even vibrations from the terrain might have triggered panic in an otherwise cohesive group. Decades later, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains as eerie and unresolved as ever. Were they the victims of natural forces, a military mishap, or something entirely unknown? Theories continue to emerge, but none provide a definitive answer to why 9 skilled and rational individuals abandoned reason and ran into certain death. This unsolved case lingers as one of the most disturbing cold weather mysteries of all time, a chilling tale of terror, isolation, and the relentless forces that may dwell in the desolate mountains.